I'm going to use sine of C over C equals sine of what I'm going to try to find first. So I'm going to find B because I always do it in alphabetical order. I don't know why. Wait, something is not right here. Yes, this is A right here. That's an A. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, because I was like, wait a minute, how am I finding C when they told me C? I knew I did something wrong before spring break. Hold on, let me fix that. That's a little messy. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Now I feel like it's okay. All right, so I'm going to find little a first. So I'm going to set it up. Sine of angle A over A. So that's my formula. So I have the sine of angle C, which is 38, over 13 equals the sine of angle A, which is 32, over A. Cross multiply it. And when you cross multiply it, you should have that A equals 13 times the sine of 32 divided by the sine of 38. If you type that in your calculator just the way I have it, you should get 11.190. And then for little b, same proportion, except now this becomes angle B and side B. So to find side B is going to be, go ahead and take that off. So the sine of angle B, or angle B, is 110 degrees. So when I'm trying to find B, it's going to be 13 times the sine of 110 degrees over the sine of 38 degrees. And when you type that in your calculator, that's how you get 19.842. So we're just going to keep practicing the same thing. I'm going to give you a couple more questions. That's it, law of sines, pretty simple. And then tomorrow we'll do law of cosines. Law of cosines is a little bit, I don't want to say harder, but I would say law of sines is the formula, because it's just a proportion, is a little easier to work with. So, all right, any questions before we move on to the next practice question that you're going to do? All right, so we did example 1 and 2 yesterday. So let's do example 3 again. Just a reminder, this is your homework. It is due Thursday. This is Law of Sines, page 542. Go ahead and copy down example 3. Triangle CAT, C-A-T. Take a couple of minutes, try to solve it. And then I'll put up the answers in a few minutes. So we have our triangle. And it says angle C is 10, angle A is 100, and little c is 13. So we need to solve it out. We need to find the measurement of angle T. We also need to find side T. And we need to find side A. So side T, that's just 180 minus 110. So the measurement of angle T is 180 minus 100 minus 10, which is 70 degrees. So the bad thing is, so if you miss that part, then you're going to miss side t. So you have to know, you have to get the right angle, the right answer for angle t in order to get the right answer for little t. So when we're trying to find, let's go ahead and find A first. So I'm going to take the sine of angle C over little c, and that equals the sine of angle A over little a. So that would be the sine of 10 degrees over 13 equals the sine of 100 degrees over A. And when you cross multiply that out, you get that A equals 13 times the sine of 100 all over the sine of 10, which will give you, for your answer, I got 73.727. And then for side t, we have the sine of 10 degrees over 13 equals the sine of 70 degrees over t. So t equals 13 times the sine of 70 all over the sine of 10, which is going to give you, for your answer, 70.349. So that's it. Any questions about how we solve the triangle? Again, solving the triangle simply means find the things we don't know. Every triangle has 3 sides and 3 angles. So let's go ahead and move on to example 4. Triangle CDE. Go ahead and copy this one down. This one is just a little different because it only gave us 1 angle. So because we only have 1 angle, we have to approach this one easier. Not a little easier, a little differently, I meant to say. So we have C, so they told us that D is, angle D is 75. And they told us that little d is 11. And they told us little c is 8. So for law of sines, we have to know a pair. We have to know a side and an angle. Law of cosines, which we're going to start tomorrow, we don't need to know a pair. Okay? So, but in order to use this law, because on the test it's not going to say use law of sines. You have to know when you can use the law of sines and when you cannot. You can use the law of sines if you have a pair. So a pair meaning I have an angle and an opposite side. Because I have capital D and little d, I can do law of sines. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do, we can't find our third angle because we only know 1 angle. So we're going to need to start by finding an angle. So let's go ahead and find angle C. So in order to find angle C, and I'm finding angle C because I know little c. So because I know little c, then I really only have 1 choice, and that's to start by finding this. Does that make sense? Because I can't find angle E yet because I don't know little e. So I have to start by finding this capital C. So let's set it up. So we're going to have the sine of angle C over 8 equals the sine of 75 over 11. So we're going to cross multiply like we always do. So when I cross multiply, I have 11 times the sine of angle C equals, and then if I go the other direction, that's going to equal 8 times the sine of 75. Go ahead and divide both sides by 11. And that gives me the sine of angle C equals 8 times the sine of 75 over 11. And then what do I need to do to find C? What's the opposite of sine? Inverse sine. You gotta take the inverse sine of both sides. So this is some fancy calculator work here, but this is what you need to type in your calculator. You need to take the inverse sine of 8 sine 75 over 11. And that's what you need to type in your calculator. And that's going to tell you the measure of angle C. So go ahead and take a moment and type that in. And you should get 44.627 is the measure of angle C. Who had that? So now that we know two sides, or not two sides, now that we know two angles, we can easily find angle E. Okay, so now let's find angle E using triangle sum. So to find the measure of angle E, the measure of angle E is going to equal 180. And then we're just going to subtract from that 75, and we're going to subtract from that the 44.627. And that should give you 60.373 degrees. All right, so now we're ready to find E, side E. So to find side E, we're going to set up our ratios. So I'm going to use angle D and side D. So that will give me the sine of 75 over 11. And that's going to equal the sine of 60.373 over E. Go ahead and cross multiply and solve that for E. And those will be your final answers. All right, so take a minute. We have to figure out, this is the port. So you need to figure out which ship is closest. So I'm going to call this one A, and this ship here is B. So you need to figure out which one is the closest to the port. So to do that, you need to find little b and little a. So go ahead and take a moment, find little b and little a. So I'll give you a moment to get started on it. Think about it. Okay, because I really want you guys to finish this out. I don't want to rush through it. We're going to actually finish this question tomorrow. Then it'll be our last question for law signs. Again, just a reminder, don't wait till the last minute to let me know if there's a test you want to retake. I need to know that today. What test and when you want to retake it. Our next test is next Friday, and you have homework due Thursday.